Hello there folks, I'm out here in my front yard and we just got a really nice summer shower, and those are always appreciated. You can see it's cleared up a bit, but not only does it mean obviously less watering, but also it cooled things off quite a bit. It was in like the 90s an hour or two ago, and now it's like 85, so it really cooled things off. It was nice to have some cloud cover while out gardening, and I just wanted to do a quick growth update on what I think is a really fascinating cactus species. Really love it, and you don't see them too often here, but I got one here in my little cactus patch. I've got 4 species currently. I do hope to expand it at some point, but as of now, I got these 4 species, and this one is the brittle prickly pear, Opuntia fragilis. Really cool species, and again, yeah, you don't see it that much here. I got this actually. I broke it off a pad from. They have several specimens growing at the Arboretum. That's where I got this one, and now it's putting out some awesome little new pads. But that's the only place I've ever seen one. There might be one at the zoo too. They have a great cactus patch at both places, but obviously much less common than our native species here, the eastern prickly pear. This thing's native, grows wild in several sites near here, and of course you see it in gardens relatively commonly too, which is awesome. And Opuntia elysiana, also more common. You see it out and about, and this is a nice big species, which is awesome. But this one also, this is a very rare species here. This is Opuntia macrorhiza, plains prickly pear. But Opuntia fragilis, not too common either, but nice to see it here. And it is, I sort of compare it to the needle palm. I say it's like the needle palm of cacti because it is not only the hardiest, it's a species that should be appreciated for many reasons. It should be at the very least appreciated because it is the hardiest cactus species in the world, which is pretty incredible, and the most northerly growing. Cacti, with the exception of a singular species, which is native across like Central Africa and Sri Lanka and southern India. So with that exception of one species, the other like 2,000 plus species are all native to the Americas. And they grow from like Patagonia up to Canada, which is pretty incredible. People don't realize how extensive they are. They're not just native to the American Southwest, as some people would have you believe. They're native all over the place, including here in Maryland. They're native to 45 out of the 50 US states, 45 of the 48 contiguous US states, which is pretty darn incredible. So that just gives you a sense of how widespread they are, and they're native here in Maryland and all around here. And this is not a native species here, but this species is an example of a species that's native to some pretty unexpected places. It grows across, I believe it grows into the Southwest, some of maybe the more expected places you'll find it, but it is certainly, I would imagine, in like the hot, dry Southwest, it would be a higher elevation species, probably growing amidst like pines and stuff, because elsewhere where it's found, it's the only species of cactus native to Northern California. It's native to a tiny pocket of Northern California, because Southern California is like a cactus mecca, and then Northern California, only species native there, which is pretty interesting. I would expect more, honestly, but this one's really cool. It grows in these like tiny little region, and I think it might be in Shasta County, but I might be wrong, or somewhere up in like the Trinity. I don't even know where. It's somewhere in Northern California. I've seen a map of the range and a video. There's a video on YouTube of wild growing up in Northern California, and it's super cool species. Like it sort of like crawls along the ground, and it's got these really interesting like roundish pads. You can just see them. They're not flat like rest of prickly pear pads, like most prickly pear pads, as you can see, very flat. They're like these round, almost like nugget shaped pads. It's really interesting. I found that fascinating, and I would love to see a larger specimen. The ones at the Arboretum are relatively small, but it's also, you know, as I was saying, it grows way past California and the American West. It grows, I think it grows into the Midwest as well, and actually, yeah, it grows into, there's a population called the Caladar population in Ontario, so that's like the only cactus native to that part of Ontario. I think there's several species native to Ontario, but that's really interesting. And then it's native all the way up into northern Alberta, British Columbia border, way up on the northern border between the two provinces, like almost near the Arctic. It's crazy how far north it grows, and that's the northernmost cactus population in the world, hardy down to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but incredibly low in Celsius too. It's actually a lower number in Celsius than it is in Fahrenheit. I think that's when the numbers start flipping, but it's absolutely crazy. So suffices to say, pretty hardy here if it can survive minus 50 Fahrenheit. We've never even gotten, you know, within 40 degrees of that. Lowest temperature ever here is minus 5. So I think it's safe to say that these are pretty hardy here. So yeah, basically, if you live anywhere in the world, with like maybe the exception of like, you know, there's way like Siberia or some of those way northern towns, maybe it even grows there, but yeah, pretty much anywhere in the world you should be able to grow this. I wonder how it does in the tropics. That'd be interesting. I don't know how it does in places like, I don't know, like Central America or something. It would be interesting to see that, or like by the coast. But it does very well here, as is exhibited by this specimen here. and just a really fascinating species. And sorry, I got distracted. But my point about it being like the needle palm of cacti is that it's amazing because it's the hardiest, so it's to be appreciated for that, if nothing else. But I think also it's a pretty striking species. It doesn't grow super tall, and it maybe doesn't exhibit as classic of a cactus look as, say, like spineless prickly pear Opuntia elysiana does, but it has this really interesting, like, matted, it grows in like these little balls, basically. You can see there, and it just sort of creeps along the ground. I think it's a super interesting species, and I think it's really beautiful, and I love the look of these new pads emerging here. Let me sort of zoom in, get a shot of it there. Just gorgeous, really, really gorgeous. And then you can see at least 3 new pads coming out on this side, and there should be another one that looks like maybe one there coming out on the top. So at least 3 or 4 pads coming out there, and it just looks super cool. I think it's this tiny, this one's tiny, but I think it's really fascinating. I just love it. I think it's a great species. The interesting thing is I planted this summertime last season, and then over winter it was actually 2nd pad growing under this one in the ground, and that was the one I previously had sticking out, and because that was like barely sticking into the ground, it kept getting uprooted, so much so that like every couple weeks in winter I'd have to come back and put it back in the ground. But that's just how tough this thing is. It spent like weeks on end in winter out of soil, and it made it through perfectly. So I eventually stuck that other pad underground to anchor it, and sure enough, it's putting out lots of new growth, as are all my cactus species, which is really awesome. So I'm pleased to report that. But yeah, brittle prickly pear Opuntia fragilis, really interesting species. I definitely recommend it if you're anywhere in the colder regions of the world. As I say, yeah, if you're really anywhere in any of the colder parts of the world, you can grow this. Minus 50 Fahrenheit, that is a cold temperature. So yeah, if you're up in Ontario, New York, anywhere, I mean, you name it, this is a great cactus species for you. As are any of these species in my garden. These are all pretty good hardy species, but none beats the brittle prickly pear. And yeah, just like a needle palm, I think it also has some other cool attributes that should make it that should make people appreciate it too, because I think it's just a really unique cactus. I don't personally know of any of the prickly pear species that are as round as this. I mean, you can see it's like perfectly round. It's not like it has like a flat side, which I think is really interesting. So I almost find it interesting they didn't lump it in with cholla when they separated the two genera. I guess the plural genuses. They separated the 2 genera. Cholla used to be part of Opuntia, and then cholla looks very different from Opuntia. So I mean, I'm sure there's biological reasons why they had to separate the 2 genera. They weren't closely related enough. But I'm surprised. It almost looks more like a cholla, just in the sort of like stemmed look of it. But really fascinating species. All right, thanks for watching, folks. Like and subscribe for more videos. Stay tuned and take care.